Good evening and welcome to Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat, your place for a fun conversation about horror movies. Tonight we'll talk about a very creepy supernatural horror story, and we'll also take some time to revisit a couple of films that we covered years ago in Express Reviews. Now that I've had more time to think about these two films and watch them again, I thought it would be worth revisiting them. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're glad to have you aboard. Now pour yourself a drink and sit back because here we go.
New details today in the grisly murders of a local family found earlier this week.
You wanted to move here.
No, I had to move here. The new story I'm writing is here.
Why couldn't you just keep writing in the old house?
Because I was going to have to write college textbooks to pay for that old house. And I can't do that.
Why not?
Because I just can't.
You ruin people's lives. Now, this town doesn't need that. It needs to heal. It needs to forget. And we sure don't want that circus that you bring with you.
If this goes sour, like last time, I'll take Trevor and Ashley and go back home to my sisters.
The symbol that you sent me isn't a pentagram. No, it's not something that you would see teenagers or a Norwegian black metal band paint on a wall in goat's blood to be edgy.
What the hell? Let's do this.
So ultimately, what feels better? Seeing justice done or seeing your book, Kentucky Blood, #1 on the New York Times bestseller list?
The justice. No, without question. I'd rather cut my hands off than write a book for fame or money. So you're saying the person that made this symbol is eating children?
Well, that would fit the stories.
What the hell are you doing?
We have to leave here.
What's the matter? What's happened?
You were right. I made a mistake. We should have never come to this house. We have to leave now. Family hanging out. Get the kids, pack the car. We have to leave. Go!
Don't worry, Daddy. I'll make you famous again.
Oh, and I find this to be in extremely bad taste.
It's time for our featured film review for the evening. Tonight we are going to talk about this film. It is called Sinister. Sinister I found on Amazon Prime. It is a supernatural horror film. Was released in the year 2012. Directed by Scott Derrickson. And the cast includes Ethan Hawke, Juliet Rylance, Fred Thompson, and James Ransome. Let's get into a conversation about Sinister. If you're going to sit down to watch Sinister, what you should expect is a well-made, slow-burn supernatural horror film that is more focused upon atmosphere than action. If you like The Autopsy of Jane Doe, you'll probably like Sinister. If you like Paranormal Activity, you'll probably like Sinister. If you like Hereditary, there's not quite as much of a overlap between Hereditary and Sinister, but if you like Hereditary, you'll probably like Sinister as well. Let's get into calibrating your sights. This is the scale we like to use. On the far left side of the scale, we have very campy films such as Jason X. On the far right side of the scale, we have very serious films such as The Silence of the Lambs. As always, this scale is not intended to indicate the quality of the film. It's to indicate what your mindset needs to be going into the film if you're going to enjoy it. Sinister is pretty much all the way over on the right. It is a very dark, spooky film with not a lot of humor, except maybe a little bit of ironic humor. But generally not a happy kind of film. It is very dark and very serious. Now, before we go any farther, we need to do our vocabulary lesson for the week. This is the part of the episode where we discuss new and innovative words and phrases in an effort to stay ahead of social media bots and algorithms that would otherwise try to ban our conversation. Those social media bots and algorithms are always getting smarter, so our language must always evolve to stay ahead of them. So, 2 words this week. Our first term is enfuegoinating, and we've done this one before. You probably can figure it out, but just to give you the formal definition, enfuegoinating refers to the action of setting a character ablaze. Now, maybe you've not heard enfuegoinating used as is. Maybe you've heard one of the colloquial forms, such as baked Alaska-ing or Richard Pryoring. Both are acceptable to use in place of enfuegoinating. Our second term is a new one. It is called greenkeeping. Greenkeeping, quite simply, is the action of running over a character with a lawnmower. Yep, pretty straightforward. And again, not too hard to figure out from the title. Let's get into a summary of this film. Ellison Oswalt, not Elliot. Ellison Oswalt is a true crime writer who moves his family into a house where multiple murders and a child disappearance had previously taken place. To top it all off, he doesn't tell his wife exactly what the background of the house is, and in fairness, she kind of says, I don't really want to know, but yeah, he moves them into a house where multiple murders took place, a child disappeared, and the rest of the family does not know, only Ellison knows. Now, Ellison hopes to write a book about this case, hoping to recapture the glory of his first book. He is a true crime writer, as I mentioned. His first book was very successful. His 2 follow-up books, not so much. So he is facing career trouble now. He is looking at the possibility of having to take on a day job editing textbooks to make ends meet, unless he can come up with another bestseller. So he's really hoping to recapture his past glory with this new book that he's going to work on. While investigating the house's attic, Ellison finds a box of Super 8 home movies and a projector. So, as is so often the case in horror movies, somebody finds a box of movies. However, this film is not found footage. This is a traditional style film, just that is one of the plot points, that he finds a bunch of home movies. Spookily, when he sits down to watch the films, they seem to depict the murders that took place in the house, along with a series of other murders dating back to the 1960s. So who or what is behind these films? That brings us, of course, to our villain profile. Our villain for this film is Bughuul. Bughuul, well, you can kind of see him in the poster right here, right in the center. That's his face. That's about the best image I could find of him online. Is you never get a square look at him in the film. Bughuul is of the class of ancient Babylonian child-consuming gods. His special powers include the ability to possess children and make them perform his will. And Bughuul's signature weapon, or should we say his signature technique, is to kill entire families at once, usually in a horrifyingly creative way, and never the same way twice. So as he's going through all the different Super 8 movies, Ellison discovers a lot of different ways to kill off your family. All of them pretty horrifying, all of them pretty creative, all of them different. So let's talk about the things I liked about this film right off the bat. The film effectively builds a dark and spooky atmosphere. The film is creative and different, and is different from run-of-the-mill supernatural films, I should say. Very creative film. It is well acted. The killings are creative and disturbing, so if you're a horror movie fan, that's probably a plus for you. And seeing the killings occur on silent Super 8 film, instead of seeing them happen live with sound, really helps to build the dark and spooky atmosphere of the film. You have these really horrifying killings going on with no sound, and somehow it makes them spookier. Now, there are some things that could have been better about this film. Let's postulate just a few of them. So right off the bat, the film is a slow burn without a lot of action. So if you are the type of person that needs a lot of action to keep you entertained, this is not the film for you. The film is a little bit slow in the middle. Long stretches of the film involve creeping around a dark house with a flashlight, and frankly that gets old after a while, at least it did for me. And kind of going along with that, a number of the scenes are darkly lit, making it difficult to tell what is going on. That's a common complaint I have with horror movies, is that in an effort to make them dark in terms of dark tone and just dark appearance on the screen, it's too dark and it's hard to tell what's going on. So let's get to Steve's scorecard for this film. Kills, I counted 18. Now some of these are implied off screen, but there are a lot of kills in this film captured on Super 8 home movies. Bare breasts, drum roll please. None. This most certainly is not that kind of film. De-nogginings. Did anyone lose their head in this film? And once again, we have 0. Hangings. Now we do have hangings. We have, in fact, 4 hangings in this film. They happen right off the bat, right at the start of the movie. Enfuegoinatings, our vocabulary word. There are 3. Greenkeepings, our other vocabulary word. I counted 1. And finally, ironic quotations from a recording of an old interview. 1. That will make more sense when you watch the film, but yes, the closest thing to humor in this film is the irony at the end of the film when considering one of the quotes from Ellison in an old TV interview that he had performed years before. But with your viewing of Sinister, you also get some bonus features, such as and including a box of home movies, but it's not a found footage film. As I mentioned, the box of home movies is a major plot point in this film. However, this is not a found footage film. So often found footage films are built around somebody finding a box of old footage. That is not the case here in terms of it is not a found footage film, although they do find a box of Super 8 home movies. Family trouble and career trouble action in this film, so you get the double dose right up front of not only is Ellison having career trouble, but he's having family trouble as well. He's having trouble keeping his wife on board with his plan to write this book. You have creepy home movie action, and I tell you, these films are just creepy as all. Night terror action. Scorpion action. Scorpions just creep me out to no end. I don't know about the rest of you, but there's something about a scorpion that creeps me out. Probably the fact that if you step on it on its back, you're going to get stung. So you get snake action. You get creepy kid ghost action. You get car flambe action. You get camera flambe action. So lots of things set ablaze in the film Sinister. So let's get to Steve's final score for this film. We're going to give it 3 paws out of 4. It's borderline 3.5. We're going to give it 3 paws out of 4. I have watched this one several times. I like it. It is a dark and creepy slow burn of supernatural terror, somehow made even more creepy by the use of silent home movies to capture the action. Now, there is a sequel to this one called Sinister 2. I made the mistake of watching these out of order. I think I would have enjoyed the whole series a lot more if I had watched them in order, but I saw Sinister 2 first and then the original Sinister. I recommend you watch them in order. Don't really have anything to say one way or the other about the sequel. It is not as good as the original. I don't recall it being a bad movie. I don't recall it being an outstanding movie. Just kind of middle of the road. Sinister, however, is a good film, and I do recommend it. A nice, dark, creepy, slow burn of supernatural terror. Anyway, that is Sinister, and that is our featured film review for the evening. And now a word from our benevolent overlords at PBDC TV, your nightly heartbeat of horror.
Oakhurst Lunatic Asylum, case number 094. Dr. Mortimer Thornfield recording. Patient 04278, Stephen P. Kitty Cat. Often referring to himself as Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat. Diagnosis, Morbus Organismus Disorder, or MOD. Observation, patient exhibits an artistically delightful and disturbed mind. The patient's pursuit of selling t-shirts and merchandise that celebrate the macabre and the horrifying has led to the diagnosis of Morbus Organismus Disorder, a condition that melds artistic madness with a twisted appreciation for the darker side of cinema. Treatment plan being that the patient's products are of a perfect embodiment of their twisted artistic vision and the unique nature of the condition. Procurement of said merchandise is recommended.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
In the southeast of America, in the quiet town of Quinton, located in Walker County, Alabama, a nightmare is about to unfold. To young friends embarking on a road trip, little did they know they were about to stumble upon a horrifying tale that would forever haunt their souls. They had no idea that their journey would lead them to the infamous Spook Trail family, deranged haunted maze makers known for their twisted ways and insatiable hunger to scare. But the question remains, will anyone make it out alive? Brace yourself, for the frights are about to begin.
Mayday! Mayday! Can you hear us? We need help. I repeat, we need help.
Oakhurst Lunatic Asylum, case number 1972. Dr. Mortimer Thornfield recording. Patients 04859 through 04859 known as the Psycho Bunnies. Their true identities are unknown to me at this time. Diagnosis: Eccentricus malevolentis disorder, or EMD. The patients seem to have inclinations of a twisted and unconventional artistic talents, exhibiting a disconcerting combination of insanity, disorderliness, and a penchant for the macabre. Observation: their collective behavior and unyielding commitment to selling t-shirts and merchandise that revel in the darker aspects of existence have led to the diagnosis of eccentricus malevolentis disorder, a condition that merges artistic eccentricity with a delightfully wicked sense of humor. Treatment plan: the patient's relentless obsession with creating and selling t-shirts adorned with sinister slogans, macabre imagery, and morbid humor is a defining symptom of their condition. Therefore, procurement of said merchandise is recommended.
Now, back to the show.
We've reached the end of another episode of Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat, but as is our tradition, before we go, we're going to take just a couple of minutes to talk about some other stuff I watched this week. This week we watched something called Halloween Kills. Yes, this is a 2021 slasher film. This is a sequel to Halloween 2018, which we reviewed back in season 2. And I watched this on Blu-ray. Yes, I own this film. As you know, we pre-record these episodes, so even though this episode is airing in November, it's recorded in very early November, and it was about Halloween time, and I felt like watching Halloween Kills. So, wanted to give it a spin. Let's talk about Halloween Kills. This film picks up immediately after the events of Halloween 2018, so you can watch Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills back to back, and it's like one large story. In this film, at the opening, Laurie Strode, her daughter Karen, and her granddaughter Allison have escaped from Michael Myers and are riding into town in the back of a truck. Michael is trapped in Laurie's house, which happens to be burning down. And certainly the fire department will not show up and accidentally release Michael from his trap, will they? Well, you know, of course they do. And horror ensues. So if you sit down to watch Halloween Kills, you'll be treated to some 1978 flashbacks, which are really well done. You'll get a small town talent show. You'll get vigilante justice. You'll get mob violence along with chanting of "Evil Dies Tonight." And you will get a pillowcase full of bricks. Also, you will get an extraordinarily high kill count in this film. On the pro side, I like this movie, and I should say it's a well-made sequel to Halloween 2018. It moves the story along without becoming too repetitive. On the con side, some have an issue with the mob violence scene. It comes a little cheesy with everyone chanting "Evil dies tonight, evil dies tonight." The director was going for something about the corrosive and infectious nature of violence, which I understand, and this, for me, the scene wasn't too bad. I know some people do not like it. My verdict on this one is I like this film. It's not quite as potent as Halloween 2018, but I consider it worth a watch. So that is Halloween Kills. And you guessed it, we also watched Halloween Ends. Now, Halloween Ends is a 2022 slasher film. It's a follow-up to Halloween Kills and completes the Halloween 2018 trilogy. I found this on Amazon Prime. Now, I do own this film, but I found it on Amazon Prime, so it is available for streaming. Halloween Kills, I'm not sure what, if any, streaming service that's available on. I would like to think it's available on Peacock since it's Universal, but I don't know that for a fact. I don't subscribe to Peacock, so I don't know for sure. But anyway, as far as Halloween Ends goes, you can find it on Amazon Prime. This film picks up several years after the events of Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, so this is not a continuation of Halloween Kills. There is a multi-year break in between Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. In this film, Laurie has begun to rebuild her life, so inexplicably she has gotten over her obsession with Michael Myers, and she is trying to write her memoirs. She has a new outlook on life. And the film also introduces a new character named Corey Cunningham, who's a teen who begins a long, dark slide into the abyss. Now, this also features the final confrontation between Laurie and Michael Myers. So if you sit down to watch Halloween Ends, you'll be treated to an effective opening shocker. The opening scene of this film is really well done and in many ways is the best part of the film. You'll get marching band bullies. You'll get lots of metaphors, again, for the infectious nature of violence and how it can spread like a disease. You get junkyard action, and you get cutting torch action. Now, on the pro side, the film is thoughtful and avoids becoming simply a repetition of the earlier films. On the con side, the film does not seem to follow directly after Halloween Kills. If you watch the two movies back to back, it feels like you've missed something. It feels like they hopped over some important plot points. Halloween Ends just doesn't resolve everything that they set up in the first two films. It just kind of leaves them. Also, it is the final confrontation between Laurie and Michael, but it is ultimately kind of a disappointing final confrontation. At the end of the day, they could not have done better than they did with the confrontation at the end of Halloween 2018, so they kind of set the bar too high for themselves in the first movie. The verdict on this one is I like Halloween Ends, but it definitely is the weakest of the 2018 trilogy, and some will be put off by the focus on a new character. But I like the film, weakest of the three, but I like the film. Anyway, that is other stuff I watched this week, and that is the end of our episode. That brings us to the end of another episode of Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat. Thank you so much for joining us. We're glad you're here. Now, if you did enjoy the show, then please check us out on social media. You can find Steve the Cat on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, which I believe they're calling X now. So please stop by and hit that subscribe button. Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat is available exclusively through the PBDC Collective Incorporated, now legally incorporated and still your heartbeat of horror. You can find us on the web at psychobunnydc.com, or you can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, or X, Rumble, and Discord. Now, the Discord site is for members only. If you're interested, then please go to psychobunnydc.com and click the link for an invitation. We'll be back again in 2 weeks to talk about some more horror films, so we hope to see you then. It's sure to be a lot of fun, so make sure to join us every other Monday night at 10 p.m. That's all for now, so until next time, thank you for joining us and have a great week.